Welcome everyone. Today we're discussing the concept paper. Concept paper is a foundational document that sets the stage for projects, research, and studies. Okay, so let's dive into deeper understanding what is concept paper. Okay, now before we discuss more about concept paper, let's have an overview of what is concept paper. So a concept paper serves as a preliminary document for a full proposal. So just like laying the groundwork for large endeavors like research studies or projects. So before diving into the full proposal, for example, it's essential to understand what a concept paper is and its main components. So essentially, a concept paper provides a framework to be expanded into a proposal. Okay. Okay, now the definition and purpose of a concept paper. So a concept paper outlines concept, okay, a proposed idea in a summarized format. So while it isn't as detailed as a full proposal, it introduces the framework of an idea that can evolve into a comprehensive proposal. So importantly, it clarifies the purpose and steps needed to realize the idea. You going to emphasizing its potential impact on the beneficiaries. We at least have 10 parts of concept paper. So let's try to break down the essential parts of concept paper. So we have the first part is the name or the title of the concept. This means that it gives your concept a catchy or interesting name, which means you have to create a catchy or meaningful title for your concept. The second part is we have the introduction, which you offer a brief overview, letting, of course, the readers know the primary focus of the project, the study, or the research that you have. And then we have the statement of purpose. You have to write one clear sentence describing the purpose of your concept. Now continuing with the structure. So we have number four, the fourth part, which is the objectives. So in objectives, you're going to list objectives in a concise, bulleted, or numbered format. So that's number four. Number five, or the fifth part, is we have the questions. So you're going to pose at least three that your concept question that your concept is carried forward. So it aims aims to answer. Okay, so you have to ensure these questions are neither too narrow nor too broad. Okay, and sixth part is we have the stakeholders or your beneficiaries. You have to identify those involved and who will benefit from this concept. Okay, next we have the short description. You're going to write a concise description, ideally in 3 to 5 paragraphs, summarizing your concept. Okay, now we have the eight part, which is the methodology. So in methodology, you're going to outline the steps or processes that will transform your idea into a reality. And of course, we have the timetable. That would be your ninth part. It is, or it include a visual like a table, graph, or timeline to, of course, outline the task deadlines. Okay. Finally, the last part, which is, of course, conclusion. So in conclusion, you're going to sum up the concept, re-emphasizing its purpose and importance. And this closing section, which is the conclusion, this closing section should reinforce the big idea presented in your paper. Okay, so in writing a concept paper, of course, we're going to follow a format guidelines. And here are the following guidelines. So for the format of your concept paper, you have to use letter sized paper, the 8.5 by 11. Your spacing should set in doubled. The font would be, of course, Times New Roman and with a size of 12. The margin should set in 1 inch on all sides. The footer, now you're going to use the add page numbers in the page blank of blank, which is, for example, page 1 of 1. And lastly, we have the header, which you're going to include the school logo on the left side of your concept paper and your name on the right side. Okay, I think that was crystal clear. So I think everyone can follow. Okay, now in cover page, the cover page should display your paper's title, your name, your teacher's name, the submission date, your section or year, and the school name. So that all should be included in your cover page. Okay, now for citations, we use the APA format, which is commonly used or common in social sciences. The APA in text citations include, of course, the author's last name, and the publication year. If citing a specific part, add a page number, or timestamps. For example, we have Smith of 2020, page 170. Okay, that is how you're going to use, or that is the APA format. And that is what you're going to use in your concept paper. Okay, now in APA style, there are two main ways to cite sources within your text. So we have the parenthetical citations and the narrative citations. So in parenthetical citations, this style places the author and the date inside parentheses at the end of the sentence. Like, for example, the example that we have this, Smith 2020 in a parenthesis, inside of the parenthesis. So use it when you don't mention the author's name directly in the sentence. While in narrative citation, this style integrates the author's name into the sentence itself with the date in the parenthesis right after the name. So for example, we have Smith 2020 inside the parenthesis states that this and this and that. Okay, I hope that explains well and you get that. Okay, so you might want to ask, paano kapag multiple authors and corporate authors yung mga kailangang isulat sa citation? So when we cite sources with multiple authors, use the ampersand. You know that sign. Ampersand is the and. It's like a shortcut for and sign, symbol. So between the last two authors' name in a parenthetical citation. Okay, so when I say parenthetical citation, it's inside a parenthesis. Okay, so for example, if there are three authors, for example, meron si Smith, si Jones, tsaka si Lee. So you're going to write a parenthesis, write Smith, comma, Jones, comma, and then your ampersand, Lee, comma, the year 2020, and then the ending parenthesis or the close parenthesis. So in a narrative citations naman, instead of using the ampersand, you're going to use the end word, okay? For example, we have Smith, Jones, and Lee 2020. Kaya, gamitan mo lang ng word instead of a symbol. Okay? In narrative citation. Okay? So if your source naman is authored by an organization or company, you're going to use the full name of the organization as the author. Like for example, ang author mo, so you're going to write a parenthesis, the open parenthesis, World Health Organization 2021, comma 2021, and the close parenthesis. Okay, I hope that is clear. So that is when writing multiple authors and corporate authors. Okay, now this chart explains how to format APA citations based on the type of authors and citation style. We have the parenthetical citation and the narrative citation. So in one author, in parenthetical citation, you're going to place the author's name and year in the parentheses. For example, we have Smith, comma 2020 inside of parentheses. While in narrative citations, you're going to mention the author's name in the sentence followed by the year in parentheses. So we have Smith 2020 inside of the parentheses states that that, and that. Okay. Now, how about in two authors? When writing in writing two authors, citing two authors, you're going to write it in parenthetical form or parenthetical citation. You have to include both authors' last name with an ampersand between them. So followed by the year. So we have the example, Smith, the ampersand, Jones, 2020 inside of the parenthesis. Now, how about in narrative citation? You're going to write both authors' last name separated by the word and followed by the year in parenthesis. Okay, so we have Smith and Jones, 2020 inside the parenthesis. Okay, now how about if we have three or more authors? So that is when you're going to add the et al. So et al is an abbreviation for uh, and others. Yun ang definition niya. Or yun yung ano niya, yung abbreviation ng word na et al. So it is used uh, in text citations to shorten, of course, sources with three or more authors. Okay, now we have an example in parenthetical. You use the first author's last name followed by the et al. And the year. For example, Smith et al. 2020 inside of the parenthesis. Now, how about in narrative form? Of course, use the first author's last name followed by an et al. And the year. Okay, the year inside or in a parenthesis. So for example, Smith et al. 2020 inside parenthesis. Okay, as cited, as you can see. Okay, now how about in organizations? In organizations, in parenthetical form or parenthetical citation, use the organization's name followed by the year. For example, uh, ito, I don't know how to read it. Young organization na yan, sports comma, 2020, while in a narrative citation, just like in one author citation. Ganun siya. Ganun yung format niya. Okay? So these formats will help identify how to adjust citations depending on the number of the authors or if the sources is from an organization, ensuring clarity in both parenthetical and of course in narrative styles. Okay, so how about naman kapag missing information? There's a missing information. How are you going to cite it? Okay, so here's how you're going to do it. If the key details like the author's name or the publication date or maybe the location, page numbers or example, for example, are missing, those important things are missing, you're going to follow the APA's specific guidelines for these situations. For example, if the author is unknown, use the title of the work instead. So if the date is missing, you're going to use the N dot B dot, which stands for no date. And if location details are unavailable, you're going to leave them out and focus on providing as much information as possible. So these adjustments ensure your citations are complete even when information is limited. Okay, now discussing the chart that we have below. This chart provides guidelines or guidance, I mean, on how to handle missing information in APA citations, specifically for in-text or parenthetical citations. Okay, so first one, if the author or if we have a missing author, if the author is missing, use the title of the source in italics, okay, for books or reports or in quotation marks for articles or web in place of the author's name, okay, inside of the parentheses. Okay, just like the example that we have. Okay, now how about if date naman yung nawawala? If we have missing date, if the publication date is missing, you write N.D for, which stands for no date. Okay, so example Smith and then comma and dot D. Okay, that is how you're going to write it. And if there are missing pages or the page number are missing page numbers, if there is no page number, you can use an alternative locator such as a chapter, a section, or paragraph number to guide readers to the specific part of the source. So alternatively, you may omit the locator if it's not essential, if hindi naman talaga siya kailangan. Okay? And one more thing, for example, so we have there Smith, 2020, chapter 3. So they're going to find chapter 3 and locate for the source or like the info that you have put it in your research. Or Smith of 2020, if that is might be enough for them. Okay, so this format allows us or allows reader to follow APA style guidelines, even when some standard citations details are unavailable. So may lalagay at may lalagay mo pa rin sila. You just have to omit or like not put everything about it, especially if it's unnecessary. Okay, and you just need to follow of course, the guidelines that I just showed you or explained to you. Okay, now we're down to the last slide of this PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so for our essential learning, as a recap, a concept paper is an essential to a full proposal. So it presents an idea in a concise but comprehensive way, summarizing what could eventually become a full-scale project or study. Okay, so thank you for your attention. I hope this video or video recorded video, recorded class clarified the purpose and structure of course, the concept paper, a powerful tool for organize, and communicate your ideas. That is the concept paper. Thank you.